Hello everyone, we are live yet again. This is one of my authors' chats of the week, and soon I'll actually be starting to do some solo ones again because I have my pre-launch up and running for my upcoming Kickstarter campaign. Woo! And if you can see some of the examples of templates, there are proofs. Sorry, the word is proofs of the book that I'll be launching. Actually, I have two of them. The paperback and then the hardcover. No, sorry. Words today. I am on 2 hours of sleep. The dust cover and the hardback, dust cover, hardback. And so those two omnibuses will be what I'm promoting for my upcoming Kickstarter. Anywho, this is going to be one of my authors' chats of the week. So I'm going to keep my eye out for my co-host this week and we'll get things going in just a little while, talking about books, writing, publishing, and everything between. I'm going to send him the invite right now and see if we can get things connected and up and running in just a moment. Let's turn on my volume as well so you can see that. Perfect. Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Hello, hello.
Perfect. I can hear you. I cannot see you. And I know you have to like flip your video around. It always, I don't know why it always on my end starts that way. And I think
How's
there's
that?
something you have to click twice. And I don't know if it's there. Haha, perfect.
There we go.
Perfect. How are you?
We made it. I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. I'm glad you made it today. I know you've been dealing with a lot of stuff, so thank you for coming in and hanging out today.
Oh, thank you for inviting me and putting up with my delays.
It's okay. I mean, I definitely have those moments where there's so much going on, and it could be whatever is going on, be it work or other things, and yeah, you get those moments where you get those delays, as you say. So welcome.
Yes.
And how I do this, it's pretty conversational, and pretty much if anybody in the comments post anything bookish related or writing related, I'll try to make note of those. If there are questions, we'll try to answer them as best of our abilities. But because I think it depends on how someone joins the live, I may or may not see all those comments. So if you see anything that I'm missing, feel free to make note of that on your end. Outside of that, since you're my co-host, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and what you write, and we'll go from there.
All right. My name is J Michael, and I write paranormal horror and paranormal vampire romance. It kind of varies depending on which book I'm working on.
That's neat. So what made you decide to do both paranormal horror and then paranormal romance? Because I feel like though they're very similar in certain vibes, they're dramatically different on the storytelling.
Yes, they are. Well, I didn't start out to do the romance part, but when I started writing my Blood Feud series, it's a vampire series, it was just going to be horror. But the main character and the female lead ended up falling in love. I'm a pantser. I don't have any kind of idea where the story goes. I get an idea and then I run with it, and it kept going. And so it ended up being a paranormal vampire romance.
Interesting. Fun. What made you decide to go with vampires? Because when it comes into the paranormal category, I know you have a selection of go-to creatures, entities, if you want, if you will. And vampires are a common one, but what made you choose vampires?
Well, first of all, my vampires are a little different. What got me started with the vampires, it goes with my background. I was born and raised in West Virginia, and a little town called Matewan, about 500 people. And if you know anything about history of the Hatfields and McCoys, the famous feud that took place, that happened in my hometown. And on my mom's side of the family, I am a direct descendant of Devil Anse Hatfield, who was the leader of the Hatfield clan during the Hatfield-McCoy feud. So I thought, well, I ought to write something about that. Well, on my dad's side of the family, they came from Budapest, Hungary, with all the folklore and the vampires. And I said, well, I'll just put the two together. So we have hillbilly vampires. And it sounds comical, but there is a lot of humor. I love humor. I'm a comedian. I spent 30 plus years at Dollywood, Dolly Parton's theme
Oh,
park,
yeah.
doing shows, comedy magic shows, and actually serious shows, even Elvis impersonations, if you can believe that. But I love humor. So the very first book I wrote is actually a true humor book. I'm also the most accident-prone person in the world. So the book I wrote is called "Bet You Can't Stick a Fork in My Eye" and other stupid things I've said and done. And it's all true. Everything happened to me, and most people read it and they don't know how I'm still around. It's that bad. So, but I'm fun to be around because you never know what's going to happen to me next. But I love writing. I was always a storyteller, even when I was in school. And I guess I got all that from my mom. She wrote poetry and things like that. And I had a love for reading and for books, and it just transitioned into becoming a writer.
That's great. And man, the utilizing and being able to utilize humor in writing is a skill that I want to get better at because I feel like I am too serious in my writing now. A lot of my writing lists to dark fantasy. So, but that doesn't mean you can't have a
Yeah.
humorous character or humorous kind of situations crop up there. So that's one of my weaknesses is I need to get better about figuring out how to integrate humor as part of my storytelling repertoire.
Yes. It came natural to me. The in both characters that I created, they're very headstrong, and so they both want things their way. So they're always clashing. They love each other dearly, but it ends up that you get a lot of one-liners and smart remarks throughout the books.
Hey, sometimes that's the best thing. Witty banter and, those, again, like you said, the humorous situations and those one-liners, they will stick with readers and they will be impactful. So that it's always good to utilize in your writing. Now, you said how many books do you have to your name at this moment? I know you said you had your debut one, which is Humor Forward, and then you were talking about your PNR, your paranormal romance. And so how many books do you have at this
Yeah,
moment?
I have three right now, and I booked the Blood Feud series is a trilogy,
Mhm.
and book three was coming out this month, but due to the things that happened, it's going to be delayed a little bit. And now it may not be just a trilogy because I've got people wanting more. So it may turn into more than that, especially a prequel that deals mainly with the Hatfields McCoys because they're kind of background characters in this series.
Mhm.
They're prominent in the first book, not very much at all in the second book because the second book takes place in Budapest, Hungary. So they moved from West Virginia to Hungary between book one and book two, and then book three takes them back to West Virginia for what was planned to be the finale. So now I don't know. I don't know how far it might go.
Hey, I talk to a lot of authors now, and sometimes they have in their mind, I have a trilogy or I'm doing I want to say quartet, that's not right. But duology, they have like how many they want in their mind. But be it as the story goes, they realize there's more to it, or maybe the fan kind of questions, kind of trigger something. There are a lot of people that will come back and do a prequel novel, a prequel series, a series that's set, well in the future, a side tangent series, and it's really neat because when you build your fandom and they really love this world and the characters you create, allowing them, plus allowing yourself to enjoy them as much as possible is something that I know a lot of readers and authors enjoy. So, go have fun with it.
Oh yes, I do. I have a ball because I'm just as excited as anybody else because I don't know what's going to happen next, and sometimes it gets me in a bind, so I have to work my way out
Yes.
of it.
Sometimes it's amazing, like, you can get yourself in those kind of situations where you're like, oh, I didn't realize we were going this way, so now how do I deal with it?
Yes, absolutely. And funny thing with my books is coming from a small town, a lot of people know me and a lot of people are reading the books. Now everybody's coming up and they say, put me in your book, put me in your book.
Yep.
If you're from my town, there are a lot of people in this book that you will recognize. The names won't be the same, but just by their mannerisms and what they're doing, you'll know that person. So it's fun. It's fun to take real people and turn them into characters.
I will admit, I have not done that at this moment, but I do deal with high fantasy. And so a lot of the names and a lot of the people and a lot of the cultures have to kind of relate a certain way. But I have been asked by some people I know, and one particular was this one adamant woman, and using the term that's book talk appropriate, she was like, please put me in your book so you can unalive me and do it in like the worst way possible. That's all I want. And I was like, oh, okay, are you all right? Are you okay? I'll think about it.
Yeah.
I told her if there's ever a book that worked for, I would do that. But I have not done that yet because it has to be right if I'm going to just stick a character.
Oh,
It
absolutely.
has to have a purpose. But
Yeah.
it is kind of interesting that there were a lot of people who were just fascinated not only about the writing process, but the idea of being a character or being acknowledged in a book is something
Yes.
that is wowing. And hey, why not? I mean, if anybody ever put my name in one of their books, I'd be like, yes.
Oh yeah, I'd be ecstatic about that. It's funny, the people that come to me that are the nicest people in the world, you've never heard anything terrible about them. They want to be the worst people they can be in a book.
Mhm.
They don't want to be themselves. They want to be totally the opposite of what they truly are. And I don't
Yes.
know if that's what's going to happen with you or not, but it sure does with me.
And I did see that there was a comment asking about, or talking about, if they were added into a book, they wanted to be something supernatural. And, I get that, definitely. Because
Yeah.
it's
Well, I
kind of
can
fun
do
to
that. I can do that.
I have done that for myself. I have my young adult series, and the main character was my alter ego as a child. Now, the magical multiverse was based off I didn't know the word multiverse at the time, but what was developed by my sister and I that was going to become the multiverse in the series. And so my alter ego, my sister's alter ego, is in that series. But that was purposeful, with the intent from the beginning. So it is kind of fun seeing what authors do. And again, you write what you know. So
Yes, absolutely.
So with your second, you said you have 3 books out. You have your second one. It goes over to Budapest. And you also mentioned that was your dad's side. Have you yourself been to Budapest, or did you have to do a lot of research to make sure that felt legitimate?
Yes. No, I have not been yet. I want to go. I actually had a chance to, but some things happened that stopped the process. I was invited by a troupe that was at Dollywood, actually. They do a thing called Festival of Nations. And they were from Romania. And they invited me to their country. And they were going to give me the guided tour of Budapest and everything.
Wow.
But some things happened where I could not leave at the time. So we had to postpone that trip. So yes, I had to do a lot of research. I mean, I knew some stories that my grandmother told me and things like that, but I did a whole lot of research to get things right. There's even some Hungarian language spoken in the book, which I had to get a translator to do that, but I was able to pull it off.
That's really neat. Yeah, I know when I was working, anytime I do my myth-based retellings, because I have my high fantasy / dark fantasy that I genuinely create that's true to my, my own creation, my own mind. And then the other side of what I do are myth-based retellings. But surprisingly, when it comes to my myth-based retellings, I do a lot of research. Maybe it's not surprising because I want to make sure the world feels accurate to whatever historical time period that I'm setting it in. So ancient Greece feels like ancient Greece.
Right.
Norse mythology is set, within that Nordic cosmology. So there was a lot of research on, and I have bookshelves now full of histories of the Viking era and all the Eddas and sagas and all that kind of stuff from that time period because I was reading and researching and consuming as much as I could just to write the story. So.
Oh yes, I love history myself. I'm a huge history buff,
I
so I understand that.
Well, I mean, you are doing vampires, and you're potentially going back in time with a, tentative prequel. You could continue pushing it back further and further, because I don't know about your vampires,
Yes.
but a lot of vampires live a long time in lore.
Yes, they do. And this book actually starts in the 1800s because that's when the Hatfield McCoy feud started. So
Oh,
it does start back in time a little bit. And so I could go back a lot farther, and that's what the prequel would be about. It would go back even further.
That's so neat. It is. It's fun being a writer. So after having published now your three books, how have you been trying to spread the word of your books? Are you, obviously you're here on Book Talk, but what have you been doing to try to reach readers and let people know, hey, these exist. Come and read them.
Yes, I've done several book signings, and I'm setting up some conventions and things that I'm going to be
Nice.
attending and signing. I do a lot of social media, and I've worked with just recently a marketer, and that's helped a lot. I hadn't tried that in the past. I did it all myself because I started out and I didn't know anything. I didn't have a
Mhm.
clue. So I started learning. I paid for my first book cover and it wasn't selling that well. So I made my own book cover and it actually made more copies go. So I've made all my book covers, but I've got professional book covers. When book three comes out, all three books will have new covers, professionally made. But the ones that I did, they actually turned out pretty well, considering I'm not a person that I'm not tech savvy at all. So
Well, and
I
that's
got
the thing
lucky.
is, just because someone can create a good cover doesn't mean they know how to make a good cover in your genre or subgenre. So you do have
Correct.
to kind of, when you start getting into the writing field and you start realizing these things, that a cover designer is not a catch-all. You have to say, like, are they good with the romance or romantasy side? Or are they good with dark fantasy? They're, for young adults versus adults, those all are supposed to look differently so they catch the right
Right.
audience. So if you just didn't know and picked the wrong person, they may just have given you what they knew, and that doesn't mean it's right for marketing your book. So things you learn along the way.
Yes, and I'm learning about analytics and things like that in not only in advertising, but in even the videos that I do of the age groups that it's reaching and
Mm-hmm.
the things I need to correct and change to make it better and keep track, do something different each time, and then look at what's sticking to the wall and do
Mm-hmm.
more of that. And with trends, it changes over
Oh,
time as
yes.
well.
The good, bad, and the ugly of the marketing and advertising side. I mean, there's been times where I thought I got like that golden ticket. I figured it out, and I did temporarily. But like you said, trends change, and hashtags or taglines kind of fade and ebb, and it can be either very frustrating or a fun challenge. I am either neutral or frustrated at it most of the time, but.
Right. I understand that. I do. I seem to be more on the frustrated side, though, I think, than you would be.
You think that, but it's amazing, like how many people behind the scenes are maybe not literally banging their head against the wall, but we all feel that. And then when we finally admit it to each other, we're like, "Oh, you're there too. Okay, great. I'm glad."
Makes other people feel better. Sometimes you feel like you're on an island by yourself. And sometimes it's not that you are glad someone's having a problem, but it makes it more relatable. And you think,
Mhm.
I'm not alone in this. And I think people should share the downs as much as the ups because we're all going to experience that. And if you've got other people that tell you, hey, that's just normal. It's not something only you're going through. It's this phase that you're going to deal with. And you learn by doing and changing.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you just have to try and try again and try again. But it's one of those things that after COVID, it started a few years ago. Finally, getting back into doing face to face events. Since obviously, like the world kind of took a hiatus from that kind of thing, so
Yes.
starting to get back into that has been really neat because being able to not just talk to potential readers face to face or fans face to face, but also connecting with other authors, it gives you those kind of moments where it's like, hey, have you ever dealt with this before? How did you, resolve that? Have you resolved it? And you learn a lot. So you mentioned that you were trying to do some live events. What are the ones that you're kind of aiming for in the near future?
Oh my goodness, I can't remember. I've got them written down, but I've
It's
been in
okay if you
Florida
can't
for so
remember.
long.
It's fine.
But there's one in Georgia, I know that, and
Yay!
then there's one in Kingsport, Tennessee, which is not far from here. I've got several lined up, and we're so fortunate. There is a bookstore in town. I live in a small town called Dandridge, Tennessee. It's in the Smoky Mountains, and there's this bookstore, and it is amazing. It's called Meeting Street Books and Cafe. They have the best coffees and pastries, but there's several writers, and most of them are right here on TikTok, and we meet once or twice a month, and we talk about all kinds of things, and we run
Yeah, I love
storylines
that.
off of each other, and it's awesome. And they're such amazing people and so supportive, and that is a huge thing. If you can find a group like that, I highly
Mhm.
recommend it because, yeah, and you don't want people that's just going to say, "Well, I don't want to hurt the feelings." So I'm going to say, "Oh, yeah, it's great." That they will tell you with a smile on their face that sucked, and you need to work on that. But they're wonderful. I love every one of them.
Well, that's very true. I know when I was early on in my writing process, I was involved with a writing group, and I know there's different theories, and people like will say either stick with your niche or go wide, and there's those things. This particular one was a little bit of everything. We had people who worked in the professional editing bracket to internationally renowned haiku poets and a variety of fantasy, etc., so on. So it was a really cool group because everybody came and looked at things with very different eyes, and they, it's you have to get used to each other before you can be honest with each other because no one wants to hurt someone else's feelings. But once you
Yes.
get through that, that's what you really need. Is you need someone to be like, I'm not going to say I liked it just because I want you to feel good. I need to point out some flaws so you can get better. So when you release it, you're as good as you can, you want to be as the
Yes.
best you can be with whatever you're trying to release. So it's good to have one of those. And unfortunately, I don't have anybody like that at the moment because I had to move away. Then I came back to a different area. And so
Mm,
if you get those chance to actually have someone, especially face to face, that's really neat. But there are a lot
yes.
of people who do stuff like that here on various platforms that they'll live stream as groups and everything. So you can make it
Absolutely.
work if you really
Yes.
want to. But I love that.
Oh, yes, yes. Yeah,
So
it's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. So you moved. You said you live now in Tennessee, and is anything about your current location going to inspire anything in a future book? Because you pulled from where you lived before and your family lines, and so are you going to move anybody to Tennessee at some point in your stories?
It's possible. It's possible. My actually the next story after I finish book three, unless I change my mind, it's going to be called The Child Catcher,
Oh, nice.
and it is based in England, in London, at the time of the Jack the Ripper uh, murders. And so the child catcher is actually they were real people. They were really child catchers. Only the real child catchers, what they did was they would take children off the street to work in camps and stuff. But I'm going to make it just a little bit darker and a little more sinister. And Jack the Ripper is also going to be involved in the storyline. So it's a darker, won't be quite as much humor in that one.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I've got a lot of different things ready to go. I get ideas and I write those ideas down. But so far, most people like that idea. So that will probably be the next one that I work on.
I love that. It's always interesting to see where authors kind of jump around where their stories head, especially if you're branching into new series and new projects. But Jack the Ripper is definitely a character, a historical character that people have and probably will almost always be fascinated about because, not just what happened historically, but also just the eeriness about the character that has kind of changed and morphed throughout the years in so many ways. So it's definitely something that you could definitely play up or, lean into depending on what you're trying to write.
Yes.
So I can speak. It's fine.
I'm having trouble myself.
Hey, I am on 2 hours of sleep. The fact that I'm functioning
Oh
right
my.
now in any state is a good thing. But what made you decide that you were finally going to sit down and actually write a book? I love this question because there are so many things that people do that will begin and then never come back
Yeah.
to, or they think about it, but they never pursue it. or they talk themselves out of it. But the fact that you have not only written a book, you have published 3 at this point. So what made you have
Yes.
that motivation to do that?
Well, I'll first tell you how I got started. My mom used to read these gothic romance novels.
Mm-hmm.
And I was bored. I didn't have any books to read. So I picked up a book and I skimmed through it, one of hers. And then I looked at another and I thought, these all sound the same. And I asked her, I said, why do you read so many of these books? They're all the same. It's
Yeah.
basic plot line, a storyline. She said, oh, well, why don't you just write one then? So I did. It was called The Ghost of Bostwick Manor. And I've never published it. And she read it. She said, you need to do that. That's really good. And so that got my juices flowing to want to be a writer, for sure. But then work and life got in the way, and I kept writing short stories and things. I've got hundreds of short stories I've never published. But when I retired in 2019, I decided I'm going to write this book. And I had started Blood Feud, the first book, in 1987, and I wrote about 100 pages of it. And then just put it aside on an old Royal typewriter. Back they didn't have computers or anything really to speak of when I started. And then I one day I just said, I'm retired. I'm going to write those books. And I started, and it ended up in 2 and now 3.
Wow, that's great. And a typewriter, that is something that, I don't know, I feel like that would take such a learning curve for someone like me to like get through, but it's such a neat thing. I think so many authors kind of dream about and kind of almost fantasize about the writer with the typewriter before them, and
I've got some right over here still.
that's so fun. So editing for you, how is that? Because when it's a typewriter, errors are a little hard to fix. You can't just backspace.
No, when I was using the typewriter, I would have to do the whole page over if there was only 1 or 2 mistakes. I would have to redo the whole page. Because, I mean, they had the ribbons that would make it go away, sort of, but it really didn't work. So I would basically take a page at a time and mark it, what I needed to change. And then I would go back and retype that whole page and pray that I didn't make a mistake when I was doing it. But yeah, it's a little bit slower process.
Hey, on the other hand, it'll probably help you memorize all the fine details better because you have to do it a couple times through.
Oh yeah, you get real familiar with your work when you have to do it that way. That's for sure.
So let me actually ask, since we haven't talked about your main characters of your paranormal series, so how many point of view characters do you have, and who are they?
Wow. Well, the main character is Stephen Kalinsky. His father, he hates his father, and he has good reason. His father's actually the master vampire that starts it all, but I changed the way vampires become vampires. And it happens through tremendous stress. And so his father leads him on a trail. His mother dies while he's out doing business. His father's very wealthy because he's been alive for centuries. So he's got all this money and all this power, and that's all he's interested in. So he's out on a trip for his father, and he gets a telegram that his mother has passed away. So he rushes back home. By the time he gets home, his mother's been cremated. She's gone, and he's furious because he didn't even get to say goodbye. So his father leaves on another business trip. Well, he finds some of his mother's diaries, and it leads him to West Virginia because he didn't really know a lot about his mother's past. And that's exactly, his father's the one that set it all up for him to find the diaries. So when he goes back to West Virginia, they're all waiting on him. The vampires are there waiting for him. And that's the whole purpose of it, is to give him so much stress that he starts to change. And he wants to see, is he going to bow down to me and do my bidding, or is he going to be a problem? Well, he decides to be the problem. He's going to stop it. Yep. So it becomes this epic battle. And then he runs into Callie Cisco there, whose mother was unalived by a vampire. And so she's out looking for them as well. And they actually me by him saving her life, which she immediately tells him she didn't need his help. She was fine without him. And they argue at first constantly, and then slowly they fall in love. But they're the two main characters. There's all kinds of side characters. And one of the characters is based off a guy that everybody knew from my hometown. He was known for fishing with dynamite and doing some, and moonshine and things like that. So he's a real colorful character, and he's also supplies a lot of the things that Stephen needs to fight the vampires he's going up against. And the more he fights, the more powers he gets, and the stronger he gets. But it's confusing him because for the longest time he doesn't know what's happening to him. Mm-hmm. And so he's going through all this while trying to stay alive and keep her alive too. And she has a dog named Rascal. It's a huge dog, and it just about killed Stephen. It thought he was trying to hurt her, so it tried to kill him. And then they end up being best of friends. And then there's when you go to book 2, there's these monks, these priests that help Stephen over there. There's demons involved. Dargon is one of the demons. So there's other characters, ghosts and demons and other things in with the vampires. But those are the main characters. Mm-hmm. And like I said, a lot of side characters. There's a lot of real interesting characters. One of my favorite characters to write was Balosh, who was he was supposed to be the guide for Stephen in Hungary. He ran into him on the street, and he's just a con man, and he's a coward, and so he's no help at all. And he just keeps getting them into messes and getting them lost. And he takes him to his cousins and his uncles to get them to sell him stuff, so the whole family's making money off of him. So that's a fun character to have too.
Well, I love the fact that you're pulling in other particular entities as well in your paranormal, because if you stuck with vampires, that is totally fine. But you could also add in so much. And actually, living up in the Appalachian area, there's so much lore all around there.
Oh, yes.
Of all sorts of, the creepy things, the unexplained and everything that, it's just a very rich area to be inspired to write something with a little bit of a paranormal flair.
Oh yes, there's so many things. You got the Mothman. There's an old hag called Spearfinger who was a very creepy character.
I actually just recently learned about her, and I have a weekly creature feature on my YouTube channel, and I utilized her at one point because when I discovered her, I was like, that's unnerving.
oh, very much so, very much so. But there's all kinds like that.
But yeah, no, I was gonna say it's just one of those areas that can be so inspiring, and I do see one of the followers that is heading out. Thank you for hanging out for a little bit, and Rain was also mentioning how your books are definitely something that is of interest. So there you go. I love that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They're a big supporter. They're. I got so many great people I've met here. And I just can't say enough good about this platform and the people I've met.
That is very true. This platform is just very welcoming. And, is there a bad apple periodically? Sure, that's everywhere. But in my experience, this has been like such a great, place to meet and befriend people in the bookish community and network with other authors and other people. And it's a great place to be. So absolutely.
Yes, I totally agree. Absolutely, it is.
That is so fun. Sorry. Let me ask you also. So I'm fascinated. So when you are going through the writing process and then you're getting to the point of editing, do you use anybody to help you either beta read, or do you use an editor, or do you do it all by yourself? How do you go through?
No,
that?
I've got people. So I've got beta readers and people that read over it, proofreaders, and that help me edit. Including my sisters, who were both really good in English, which I was not. So that helps a lot. But yeah, I've got several people that do help me, and they do a fantastic job. And I couldn't do it without people like that.
Well, I mean, that's everything. It's just like we are not islands. As much as sometimes it feels like it, we are not. And there are so many people that go into making a good book. Obviously, the author is one of the primaries, but, depending on who else you work with, be it beta readers and editors and cover designers, or, there are so many things. If you're going to audiobook, depending on if you're narrating your own books or not, audiobook narrators and stuff like that. There are a lot of people that go into it. And you were mentioning now you're trying to work with working with someone, consider working with someone to help with marketing as well.
Yes.
Yeah, see?
Yes,
not an island. And
marketing and promotion. I just don't have enough time to do all of it.
That's true. I mean, there is so much time. I mean, how do you find a balance? I know you mentioned that you have moved to retirement, but is writing your sole focus? Do you have other things that you balance? Because I know there are so many people who balance a lot of things along with their writing, or at least.
Oh yeah. I've got a lot of things. Of course, my wife being number one, I have to say that because she might be listening. So yeah, she's number one. And talking about being retired, I was retired a month until she decided I needed at least a part-time job. So she went out and found me a job. So I work a couple of days a week, and it gets me out of the house. She says it's for my good, but I think it's the other way around. But and that takes a little bit of time. But I'm also the music leader at my church, so I have to do all the music for services and everything like that. So that's another thing that keeps me busy. And then I do martial arts as well, and I do magic shows. Still, I've done magic since I was 10 years old, so I do magic shows a lot for libraries and schools and things like that.
Okay, so I was gonna say, so you do keep really busy. Okay, so let me actually ask, since you have a musical ear, have you ever considered what kind of music soundtrack or particular song that would kind of encapsulate the theme of any one of your books?
I have. I mean, I can hear music in my head even when I'm writing. I have an extreme love for all music. I was in a rock band when I was in high school, so I've done all genres. Country. I've done everything but bluegrass, and it's only because I just don't think I could. That's a hard type of music to sing, but it's really hard to pinpoint any one soundtrack. Part of it will be, some of it would be Indiana Jones, some of it might be Rocky, and then other parts would probably be a really good love story soundtrack, depending on what's happening at the time. Because in one chapter, there's a wonderful, touching romantic scene, and then maybe two chapters down the road, you're in a battle for your life, and there's all this exciting, and I choreograph all of it. Of course, the main character does martial arts because that's always been a part of my life. So he uses martial arts to fight with. And so I try to make it as accurate as possible with all the different techniques and everything, which nobody would really know unless they know martial arts. But to me, it was important. So I did.
You never know if you get that reader that is involved with whatever that thing is. And for this case, martial arts, they will respect the fact that you are technically accurate, because there are so many times, and I know I read or hear stories of like someone who's really big in equestrian sports and hears someone do something with a horse and they're like, that's not right in a fantasy book or something.
Oh, yes.
It happens. So, finding ways to be, accurate or technical in the little details does matter to certain readers, especially the ones who are familiar with whatever that niche is. So, why not? And it is really neat that you're, again, able to utilize more of your background and more of your passions in order to create these characters of your books. But let me ask you, because the hour's starting, it's that point where it's going to start flying by in a moment. But
Yes.
I have a couple questions that I always like to ask, because if this platform's nice, usually it is, sometimes it's not. I'll try to repurpose this video on my YouTube channel at a later date and put all your contact information down below. With that said, where can people find and buy your book if they're interested in any one of your books? Are you exclusive through Amazon? Do you sell direct? You were mentioning kind of going to events. Are they available widely? Where are they available?
Yeah. Well, I am on Amazon, so you can get them on Amazon. I have a website, but it is being reconstructed right now. So they would just have to check. But it's J Michael Vagott, author.com.
Mm-hmm.
So, but like I say, it's under construction, so it's going to be a little bit before I get it put back together. I just wasn't pleased with it, the way it looked, so I'm having it completely rebuilt and starting from scratch. But you can get them there, and they're on a lot of the online bookstores as well. They're in a lot of local stores here, places like that. But right now, the best place to go to is Amazon, or contact me here on TikTok and send me your address. I've done that. People's asked me how to get my book, and I'll sign it and send it to you.
Hey,
you can do that.
My copy, so it's always good to know if that's a possibility. So also, what formats are your books available? As in ebook, paperback, hardcover, audio, that kind of thing.
Yeah, they're in paperback and ebook right now, and I've been talking with a couple of narrators, and right now I'm also considering narrating it myself because of the dialect. It's tough for some people to pick up that Southern West Virginia dialect. Now, mine's not as true as it used to be because I played so many different crazy characters at Dollywood that a lot of the voices got mangled up together. So I'm more country than I should be sometimes. And so but that a lot of people when you tell them, oh, well, it happened in Southern West Virginia, ends up being like from Georgia or somewhere where it's like a Southern Belle talking or something like that, and it's totally different. Yeah, it's a different dialect, and it's not an easy dialect. It can be tricky. I mean, unless you were born there.
That's true. It's like I hear that old Southern Belle sound like the old Atlanta, which really doesn't exist anymore.
Yes.
Or that kind of stereotypical foghorn, leghorn, like Kentucky accent, and I'm like, that's not just the South. Everybody has their own.
No.
My husband is from the New Orleans area, and they have at least half a dozen accents that are very different depending on region and kind of thing. And it's just, one accent doesn't fit all down here, so I understand that.
I went to Branson, Missouri to Silver Dollar City for a year. They wanted a magic show and a magic shop out there. So they sent me out there for a year to get it started. And I was working with a Cajun washboard band. And it took me a good while to understand what they were saying. And it took them a while to understand what I was saying. But we had a great time. We were best of friends.
Yep. Nope. I was going to say the Cajun accent, especially the thicker ones. It can be a little tough to get used to, but it's a lot of fun. But yeah, I would think kind of a neat challenge just to see if you can narrate it. I am not ever going to narrate one of my books because I can't make any like this is the voice. Everybody's going to sound like this. It doesn't really deviate, and I don't think I would be ever good at really selling all the various characters of the stories that I write. Plus, there's a lot of tech that you have to kind of set up to make it, soundproof.
Yes.
That's just at that point, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to hire a professional. But if you can learn that or have that knowledge and have that capability and utilize it, there are definitely authors out here that have done that where they narrated their own books. And one, it's a lot more affordable. Two, it's a great skill to have. You never know. Maybe that will be your next career,
Yeah. True. Well, I mean, I do have an advantage because I've done all these characters and I had to change my voices and my mannerisms. So I can slip from one to the other pretty easily because I've done it for so long. So that's what makes me kind of tend to lean towards maybe doing it myself.
Hey, it never hurts. You can try, and then worst case, you decide you don't like it and start over, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the even better part is I don't have to have the technical knowledge because my audio guy from my church has a recording studio, and he said he'll do it for free. So all I have to do is talk. So I got it made.
I love that.
I can do you a favor if you ever need help. I got a guy.
Good to know. Because it's I definitely, when I look at projects, I try to find the right narrator for the right project. So they all kind of, each different series kind of has someone different I'm working with. It just depends on what I need for that particular story and book and series, etc. But also, let me ask you, since again, that hour is going to run past us real quick, but another thing I like to always ask is, outside of Book Talk, where can people find and follow you? You mentioned you're going to have your website after it kind of gets its remodel, which is great. And you're here on Book Talk. Are you anywhere else? Do you have a newsletter? Like, where else, potentially elsewhere?
Well, the newsletter was tied to the website, so it'll be up and running again. But if they want to message me here on TikTok, I can get that information to them. But I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn, Instagram. Mostly on Facebook and TikTok right now, but I do have those accounts in other places.
Well, here's that thing. It's like, you don't have to be on all the places. I have the biggest, as they say nowadays, FOMO, fear of missing out. So I am on a lot of platforms. Still not on all of them, but a lot of them. And the downside of that is that it can stretch you thin, especially if you're trying to be active on all platforms. So, just having a handful and like focusing on them and making them as successful as possible is sometimes the better way to go. So that's, and of course, as we mentioned a little earlier, Book Talk is like, again, the primo at the moment in time. That's what I feel. That's my bias.
I agree.
So what got you actually on this platform? Because for me, it was my husband practically dragging me, being like, you got to join Book Talk. You got to be there. That's where all the readers are. That's where all the authors are. And I was like, no, I'm on too many other things. It took me forever. It felt like. What made you decide to join this platform?
Well, I was on Facebook. I did a lot of Facebook stuff. And when I met my other author friends here, they said, you got to go to TikTok. So my other friends were all there. So I said, well, I'm just going to go over with my buddies. And that's how I ended up here. And I absolutely love it.
Hey, it's good. Also, the fact that you had some author buddies to start off with, because when I joined this platform, it's like, it's me. Hello, my name. Does anybody know who I am?
Oh, some of my first videos were the most horrific things. It's amazing anybody followed me.
Yeah, I'm never going to go back all the way to the early videos. They're a little rough, and every so often, at least I know certain features pop up every so often. Every so often, I have those features that's like this day in your history. So it's like showing all the posts from the X many years that I posted on this day. And if you ever pull some from like the early years, it's cringeworthy. It's like, ooh, nope.
Oh yeah, I've done that. But my first video I did on TikTok wasn't even about my books or anything. I did a magic trick where I didn't even have to speak. So I was so nervous. I said, I'll just do a magic trick. And I did. And I think it got like 200 views. So I was ecstatic.
Hey, sometimes the simplest ones are the ones that start catching people's eye. You can like try the hardest to like be like, here, I'm really promoting. I have this great series. This is a special edition. Whatever it is, you can be talking about it, and it's just like you post something, one thing that's dumb that doesn't relate, and it's just like, whew.
Exactly. Oh, I know. I can spend 3 hours on one video and it'll get 50 views, and I can put up a stupid picture and it'll go, 2,000 people will view it. And I was like, how can that be? Yep. It's like, why am I trying to work so hard?
Yep. Nope. I feel you. Like right now, again, as I'm trying to promote these special edition releases, every time
they are beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a long time coming planning them. But yeah, when I post things, it's, still the small views, and I'm waiting. I'm like trying to be a little creative each time. And I know I'm just starting to talk about it, but I'm hoping to get that one video that, doesn't have to go full viral, but, spikes the views. Yeah. And I also see Amy popped into the chat saying, hi, Joe, love all your books. Can't wait for the next one. So there's one of your bookish fans.
That's actually one of my fellow author friends, too.
I love it. Everybody needs a author.
Yeah.
And, yeah. When you do also, since I am in Georgia, when you do figure out which event you're potentially coming down for, let me know, because I do a lot of convention areas in Georgia. I'm just starting to consider, should I travel out of state, because Tennessee is closed. The Carolinas are really close in my backyard. You know, anything to do in that area that's bookish related, it's doable. I just have to like remind myself it's only a few hours north. It's not like going a whole day drive, you know.
Right. You'd love Tennessee.
I was gonna say I love visiting it. I definitely love visiting. I haven't gone there for any particular bookish event, but I do love the particular parts that I've gone through and been able to explore so far. So it is a beautiful state for sure. So let me ask you, and this is one of the big questions since we have about 10 minutes left for anybody who's listening as well as you. Is there anything you wanted to cover topic-wise today that we haven't had a chance to cover, or do you have any questions that you wanted to ask that you never got a chance to? Because this is that great time to make sure we cover everything you want to cover.
Me personally, I don't have any questions. You've been amazing. You make it so easy.
Well, thank you. Thank you for saying that. I know, again, going back to the first few of these videos, these lives that I tried, God bless for all the authors that put up with me when I was trying to fumble through, trying to figure this out, because like anything, practice makes perfect. So having, you know, I try to do these weekly, and having done these for a few years, it gets easier because, you know, various questions that relate to everybody. Plus, you go on like little fascinating side tangents of like, ooh, that's cool, you know. Have you been to Budapest? Or, you know, your family and how you're tying it in. Those are just kind of neat things. So I do like that.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you a funny thing. This is the very first podcast I ever did. If you notice, I didn't mention my last name. I can't. Because the very first podcast we did, they said my name and it immediately shut us off. They shut them down for hate speech. So I can't say my last name on here. And that's nothing different. I can't order a pizza. If I call in a pizza, they hang up on me. So there's always something going on with me. So that's why I don't use my name, my last name at all. I just go by J Michael, and it works great.
Hey, you know, it's not for the same reasons, but because I have a Swedish last name, no one pronounces it correctly, so you know it doesn't matter.
You understand?
Like anybody says it, I'm like, well, that's close enough. They're probably talking about me. So hi.
Yeah. My name in Hungarian I can get away with it. My name is Joseph, of course, is my first name. It's Joska Mishka Vagott. And I can get by with that, but nobody knows what I'm saying.
Have you ever considered utilizing a pen name for any reason? I mean, I'm very tight with my name, as most people are, so I use my name, my maiden name. But how about you? Did you ever, or have you ever considered, wouldn't it be interesting?
You would think, well, I would have with my name being what it is, but no, it never crossed my mind.
That's all right.
Never crossed my mind.
That's fine. I mean, that's one of those things. It's like when you are you're writing something and you're working with it, and it may take you months or years and years to create this work of art, because literature is a form of art, and you're releasing that into the world. You kind of want people to know who you are. With the exception of definitely some spicy writers who want to do the opposite, where they don't want people to know who they are.
I think, if I did that, I would definitely change my name, because my family would hunt me down. So yes, I would change my name.
Actually, you did say that your book, your paranormal books do fall into the paranormal romance. So when it comes to the romance, is this kind of like PG-13? Like, where does that fall so far?
My books are clean. Now, there's gore. There is gore and violence. There is no bad language, and there's no sex in it whatsoever. It's kind of like the books my mom used to read that I picked up back in the day, the Gothic romances. That was a love story without the love. It's an easy way to put it, I guess. I did that intentionally, and that's just the way I write.
And that's the thing, is like people, I know there are a lot of people who like the spicy side of romance, but not all romance has to be spicy, for sure. And so you can have like characters fall in love and build relationships, and you don't necessarily need to go that way unless you choose to. So like I definitely don't fall into romance in any way at this moment in time, but I do have characters that in these stories be it, the dark fantasy or the isekai portal fantasy, whatever, that start developing relationships and start, falling in love or falling out of love and all this kind of stuff, because that's just a slice of life. So,
Yes.
incorporate it however it is. And you don't necessarily, unless you want to, go that route of, X many chili peppers,
Yeah. Well, I looked at like the old, if you remember the old scary movies back in the 50s, they didn't show any violence. They insinuated it. You saw a shadow with a knife and I heard the body hit the floor. And it played in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the way I write. Let it play in your mind more than have it visually thrown into your face.
Yeah,
and now they're like I said, there's still gore, but there's more to visualizing what you want to see in the story.
I get that. I definitely get that. And yeah, challenging your readers to activate their imagination sometimes. And there's always going to be the one that's going to be like, no, just tell it to me.
Yeah, I would probably be that one.
There are a lot of others who kind of like, in some way, shape, or form, the ability to kind of envision it themselves and however they want. So when it comes to actually descriptions of like characters, what they look like, do you go really in depth, or are you pretty much like, that's a person?
No, I do somewhat. I don't go into a great deal of detail, but I mean, I do detail the characters out. But I want to leave some of it to where, again, just like he carries her up the stairs to the bedroom, and that's it. And then you put the rest of it together. And that's kind of the way I do my characters. I give you a generalization, a good idea that you can picture in your mind, but to the point where you see your hero and you see your female lead character the way you picture them being.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's the way I tried to do it.
Well, it does. And it's like when it goes to the question of book covers, and I know one of the trends right now is a lot of them doing more symbolism versus characters on them, because there's a lot of push for, especially in certain genres, but readers don't really want to see the character on there because they want to visualize them what they want to visualize them. On the flip side, again, you get the others that are like, no, I want to see what you want them to look like. And so you can't please everybody. You just have to make sure you're happy with your product, you're happy with your story, you're happy with your level of description or lack thereof.
Yes. Well, now, my books don't have any characters on it. Now, the first cover did, but my other two, there's no characters on it. But the new covers actually will have the characters on them. So they're totally different. Okay. And I'm tickled to death with the way they're looking.
Well, that's great, and that's something that if anybody listens to this, like your website, things get dated, things go out of style. You can always update them, especially if you're an indie author and self-published. You have that capability to update whenever you need to, whenever you feel to, or do special editions and alternative covers and stuff like that, and change things up if you want. Because I know for my Viking series, when I released them independently, they were all ebooks only because they were novellas, and they had a rune. It was, in the runish colors between book to book slowly changed, so it kind of became this rainbow effect throughout the whole series. Reflecting there is Bifrost, which is the rainbow in Nordic myth, and also the land bridge between the world of mankind and one of the realms of the gods. But wanting to change things up for the special edition, so that's why I have now scene art with some of my characters, but also have a little updated symbolism style art as well. So it's fun. Play around. Try it out. Change it up. It's fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
And do you have an example of any of your covers with you before we wrap up?
Yeah. Well, this was the book that I had someone make the cover on. Oh. You can see that. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually I've sold out. I'm waiting for a shipment of my current cover book for book 1. And this was the book cover I did for book 2 for the one in Budapest. So that's the book cover that I made.
Beautiful.
And Of course, now this is the first book, and this shows how much I didn't know when I started. That is the first book, and yeah, that is me.
Hey, and that's the thing is everybody learns along the way. My first book cover for my first book, I was working with someone, and I had what I thought I wanted to do in my mind, and they were someone who knew enough. They knew some graphic effects, but they weren't really a cover designer proper. And so we came up with something, but it didn't work right for this book. So it took me a while to kind of realize, my error and do the research and kind of finally make the effort to change things up, find a new cover designer. And I came out with what is the current book for Sarah's Claws, my debut book. And all of a sudden I started selling it.
Yeah, that's the way it worked with me on my first book cover. Yeah. It's odd.
Who would have known, don't judge a book by its cover, but we all do.
Yes, they do.
And I mean, yes, it's what's on the inside that counts, but the cover catches the eye. So you want those.
Yeah, you got to get them to open that cover.
That's true. That's true. Okay, let me ask this last question. Then I'll have to wrap up because it is time for me to let out my dogs. You said when you release the third book, and you don't know exactly when that will be, that's when you're going to do this re-release of all your book covers. Do you, now knowing that it's kind of been postponed, have any idea of what is your new goal for the final book release of your quote-unquote trilogy that might be more books?
Well, I'm going to do my best to have it by Thanksgiving or before.
Hey, that's still relatively around the corner, so it's not a long postponement. Okay, that's good.
No, it's not going to be.
I was like, it's going to be halfway through next year. Okay, good. That's not.
No, I'm not going to wait that long.
Well, that's exciting, and I say good luck to you on your next upcoming release, since that is still relatively quick. You're going to blink and it's going to be here, kind of thing. I know.
A lot of work to do.
But yes, thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight and talking about your books and learning about you and your world of vampires that span continents, and just getting to know you. It's been fun.
And thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure for me. I had a ball. I'm like you. I'm exhausted. I've had a busy few weeks, but I wouldn't have missed it for the world. But I thank you very much.
I'm glad. If you ever want to come back and do one of these again, let me know. Again, I plan them in advance as best as possible. But I would love to have you back on and maybe catch up with you after the release of your next.
Sure. That sounds fantastic. Thank you very much.
I love talking to you. And have a wonderful evening and happy reading, everyone. Bye. It was nice to chat.
Bye-bye.